Yo, everybody, welcome back. I know we just did a pod 4 days ago, but we got something cooking today. Uh, this is the Mo Money Sports Network. It is yours truly, with my tag team partner, the man who doesn't know the meaning of the word golf energy. G, how you doing today, buddy?
Fired up today, man. Fired up today, but we're doing really good. Stayed warm, stayed cozy, and got ready for the
By the way,
big
I'm just gonna
news.
show off the Christmas gift you gave me here.
Oh man,
Much
that
appreciated, by the way.
yeah, I had to pick it up with tongs, right? Because being a Lakers shirt and all, I didn't want to come into direct contact with it. But man,
you might get some of that magic dust on you. Who knows?
well, I will say this: the years that are on the shirt there that it's referencing, those are the
Yeah,
glory years. Those I respect. Um,
I, I
the
I'm gonna
in-season
say
tournament
something that's gonna
Lakers, yeah, maybe not so much.
we're not doing we're not even I don't acknowledge that. But I'm gonna start with a statement and I'm gonna let you run because I'm gonna irritate you. My dude of the week is coming out early this week. My dude of the week this week goes to the one and only Bobby Webster for actually doing his job this week.
You know what? I can't argue with that. Go on though. Go on if you have specific other reasons other than he just finally did his job.
Well, it's just this is the first time he's been able to put his stamp on the team. And I think, and because, back in early October, when we started this whole journey with the pod, I was basically begging Mr. Webster to take this team in this very direction. So now that I've gotten what I want, I can't then come on the pod and be like, oh my goodness, this was a bad move.
I'll tell you why you
Can't
can.
do it.
I'll tell you why you can. Absolutely.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah, I'll tell you why it's not a problem.
All right, but I'm getting my dude of the week out early, Mr. Bobby Webster. Thank you for finally doing your job.
Now let me ask you this: if somebody takes, you know, however long to do their job, but their job is time sensitive, and that time is the essence of their job, and when they make decisions and stuff. Here's my take: you could have put this team on NBA 2K, this roster, and left it on autopilot on manager mode and come up with a better return for your guys than the last 7 years of Bobby Webster. You could have put it on autopilot and came up with a better return. For
I
Lowry,
disagree.
I'll give you a quick breakdown of just the guys that have left that we any other franchise with a competent front office would have gotten maybe not a max bang, but at least a few assets that were relevant back. Because Lowry, I'm sorry, but Precious was a throw in then, a throw in now. Doesn't count. Um, Kawhi, yeah, nothing. He was only here for a year. Fred Van Vliet sold for nothing. He walked away. Uh, OG might be our only person that gave us a little bit of return, and I'll give them that. But for all the quality talent we've had to come away with three uh, or two
Was it quality talent though?
Pascal, Fred Van Vliet, Kyle Lowry, all pieces that we knew were leaving. We knew we weren't going to keep them, and we held on to them for no reason until they just devalued. It's like hanging on to a car that you knew you didn't have the budget for and you knew didn't fit your personality, but you kept driving that car. And then you finally sold that car, and it's like, hey, good job. It's like, no, man, you should have sold that a while ago. What's next? You know? Like,
Well, this, if you remember, and I can't remember if this was a side conversation or if this happened on one of the pods, but if you remember, I kept saying they should have done this deal last year with Memphis before they went and got Pirtle.
this is
I'm
the
pretty
whole
sure
thing.
that was a podcast conversation. And I'm pretty sure there's a receipt of me saying that at some point.
And I think it's very relevant right now because it's so crazy that they've, barely squeezed out a couple little, like, I'm talking, this is a headline asset trade. This is just covering your ass type of trade because it could end up getting nothing in the draft for three for late first rounders. It could end up you just had zero return for Fred Van Vliet and Pascal, who gave you a heads up that they weren't going to sign on your lowball offers. So we lowballed our superstars out the door and got nothing in return and wasted all this time that we could have been building chemistry with Scotty and young guys. And now we've got what, 20 games left in there, however many games left in the season, 40 games.
40, we got half a year left.
Yeah, you cut off half a year for no reason. You wasted a year for no reason. And our $200 million guys left for a pair of picks. you know, that's not good GMing to me. Like every other franchise I've seen turn something into at least a couple pieces.
That's not true. That's not
Oh, that's not
true.
true. Yeah, you're right. Not every other
That's not
franchise.
true.
There
This
are
is the
other.
standard. This is the standard NBA deal, and this is the going rate for a superstar. There's three first rounders and a couple of players. That's the going rate for the league right now. I think Bobby Webster did a great job.
But the picks are meaningless, right? At least you could have gotten a Matherin. You could have gotten a interesting, proven NBA piece because our draft history is horrid, horrid. So that's not a good bet. What would have been a good bet is a proven guy who can be young and buildable. But we couldn't even get one. For Fred Van Vliet and Pascal, we couldn't get one proven player to be excited about. That's awful. That is awful.
Well, let me be honest here.
Every other team got at least something to be excited about. Utah.
The
Uh,
Timberwolves didn't.
what do you mean?
Well, when Utah traded Gobert, they got five first round picks. Now that's ridiculous.
I think it was
But
four.
there's nothing in that deal that I got that I'd sit there and go, "Oh, Utah can be excited about that." There's nothing in that Utah deal that I can say, "Oh,
Yeah,
Utah
yeah,
should
you're
be
right.
excited about that."
Other than Utah's draft picks are way higher quality than Indiana's because they're at opposite points of the spectrum. But I hear your point.
What are you
And I
talking
kind of
about?
agree.
Minnesota's first in the West. Minnesota's draft pick is lower is
No,
higher than
Utah.
Indiana's.
Utah, right? Because you're getting. Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. You're trading away your draft picks, and
Utah's
you
got
got.
worse picks than the Raptors got.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say Minnesota was a good move. Nobody thought the Gobert thing was necessarily a good trade for uh, anybody involved. It was sort of just like a, but it
No,
turned out
but
to be
I'm
okay for
saying
Minnesota.
this is the going rate. This is what you get.
But Minnesota got a star player in Rudy Gobert.
We're talking
Utah,
about Utah.
yeah, I wouldn't
Utah's
be
best
that.
player is Laurie Markkinen.
I would have been excited to get Markkinen back for Siakam. That would have been great. That would have been feasible if we had signed Siakam a year ago. You know, it's it's
Markkinen's not on the Indiana Pacers.
no. I'm saying if we had signed Pascal, we could have traded him for a legitimate player rather than
You just
spring.
told resign Pas. I have receipts that you said we shouldn't resign
No,
Pascal.
no, way back when it would have been relevant and not just trying to sign him on um, a deal to just get him out the door. Like when you
We
could
should have
have,
did what I wanted to do, which was trade him to Memphis, not sign Pirtle and give up a second round pick. Then we would have got Memphis's three first round picks, and that would have been a better deal for us.
yeah,
But
we
yeah,
sold so late that I can't find it a positive trade. It's addition by subtraction, and that's not doing your job well. It means you're getting better by default by getting rid of a piece that you should have gotten a return for, but at least you're getting better by him leaving, right? But it should have
But
happened
there's also the
6 months
fact
ago.
that they might not use those picks. It's
Yeah,
possible
but
they could flip those picks.
everybody's looking at the same picks as us. They're going, "That's trash. I don't want your picks."
I think Bobby Webster did great given the circumstance of what he has to deal with.
But he's the one that created the mess. You know, it's not like he came in cleaning up somebody's mess. He created the freaking mess and then brought horrible little shreds of nothing out of it. And it's like, that's the definition of doing a bad job. He should be fired. I'm sorry, but people have been fired for less. You know,
I don't know. Three
it's
three first round picks
that is the
is
biggest fool's gold that I've ever seen in this league. You know, like if we get somebody in that, it's luck. It's pure luck. Why are
it's
we betting
all
on
luck. The
luck?
draft is all luck.
Yeah, that's why it's not total value. A lot of teams these days are realizing that it's not as much value as we think. And that's why OKC hasn't been able to get rid of theirs as easily as they thought, because they're not valued as what we thought they would be unless you're a chump, which we were in this one. You know, and Utah
I,
was.
I disagree because I now see if it was me, if
Who
I
have we
was Bobby
drafted
Webster,
in the last 7 years that has anything? seven
we
years.
never draft well. We've drafted players like Rafael Arujo for crying out loud.
So
Don't
we
sit there and act like the Raptors have ever drafted well.
so why would you trade for the thing you're not good at?
That's not up to me.
But you know, the judgment though would be that this is bad because you're picking a lane that you're not good at. If you said good job, Bobby, it would be because he picked a lane that they would be good at.
He should be good. He's a general manager. He should know who to pick.
But the evidence of 7 years says they have been as bad as any team in the league at drafting.
Bobby hasn't been there for 7 years, but I get your point.
Yeah, it's a organizational failure point, and we're doubling down on it and letting our strongest asset go for next to nothing. So honestly, I'm being negative, but my headline is addition by subtraction. What I've been saying all along is we look great tonight because Pascal wasn't there. Not knocking on him, but the flow. He was an interruption to
That,
the
that's
flow.
that's
He
what
was
that's what I mean. You can't come into a podcast week after week, like I said, and be week after week going, Bobby, do something. Bobby, plant the flag. Bobby, let me know what we're doing. And then
okay.
Bobby plant that flag and then go, huh, you planted a flag.
All
You're a
right, let's say it's
moron.
a UFC fight and it's like, man, get a punch in, get a punch in, get a punch in. And the guy just lightly taps the guy in the nose. You'd be like, all right, yeah, you touched his nose. That's not what I meant. I meant do something decisive and effective, not the last
Okay,
thing on the block.
let
Like,
let me put it to a comparable. Would you rather be the Leafs where you double down on the same four guys that have been failing for the last 8 years and then you just keep giving them money? Does that make sense?
how about we have just traded him when we realized Scotty's the future and we aren't going anywhere. So Pascal's value is really high
Can't
right
do
now,
that
you
because we
know.
got to live in the now.
But we're assessing the decision making process, and they failed point after point on the decision making process since Fred Van Vliet in such catastrophic ways. I don't know how he still has a job. Telling
I'm
you,
flabbergasted. Okay, let me try to catch up to you here.
my
You're
NBA
upset that
2K
Freddie walked for
AI
nothing. We knew Freddie was walking.
for a long
You're
time and
upset
could
they
have
didn't.
traded him. We could have traded him for something at the beginning of that year when we knew he was going to walk. Analysts from across the
Granted,
country said that. They're like, why are they keeping him around? You know, everybody was confused at the Raptors. Like, why aren't they picking a lane? Why aren't they
I
picking a
wasn't.
lane?
I wasn't. I knew exactly what the Raptors were doing. The Raptors were trying to get into the playoffs.
No, at the start of last year, when you knew Freddie was going to be um, on his last thing year, and it was a franchise that was not in compete mode, they've been walking the Chicago Bulls 9-10 line for so long uh,
The
that this
Raptors,
is
the Raptors are the East version of the Dallas Mavericks.
I don't know. I think we're our own little mess, and we are
No,
better than other messes. But it's sort of like I
no,
just,
we're the exact version of the Dallas Mavericks. What did I tell you about the Dallas Mavericks? I said the Dallas Mavericks are that team that's all show and no go, and the Raptors made a bet. And the Raptors said we're good enough to get into the playoffs. And at the trade deadline last year, rather than trading Pascal for the three picks from Memphis, which would have been a better deal than we got from Indiana, they decided let's go get Jakob Pertl. Let's fake like we're gonna go try and make the playoffs. We got to the play-in. Raptor fans will be happy. And then they got to the season this year. They went, oh shit, this doesn't work. We got to ship Pascal and OG, and this is what we got. So now this is what we have to deal with because
forgetting
they're
about
just like
Freddie.
the Mavs.
Forgetting about Freddie though too. At least the Mavs got trade return for some of their guys. Like when Brunson left, at least they got freaking return of some kind, right? They didn't they? Maybe not. Maybe
No,
they
they
are the.
didn't.
See, then maybe they
Brunson
are the
left as
same.
a free agent.
There we
Brunson
go.
left as a free. They got nothing for Jalen Brunson.
So your point is, yeah, even more true then. Um,
We're the East Coast version of the Dallas Mavericks because they know as long as they show the Raptors fans that we think they give a shit, they don't have to work as hard. That's the
yeah,
problem in Toronto.
and it's arrogance too, like the arrogance of thinking that you could have just held on
I
to
don't mean to
Freddie.
curse. I don't.
And
I try not to curse on this channel, but
yeah, man, I
I'm
just think that
sorry.
Masai and Bobby should not get a pass for this. It's like, just because you finally did the thing that people have been screaming for 2 years for, it doesn't mean that's a positive. It means a thank God this is over, and like at least we can now
And this,
start
this is
looking.
not new. I had this conversation with you earlier, where I was
What?
like, we should have done the deal with Memphis.
Yeah, like yeah, a million deals in the last however long before now is like this is the last possible point they could have done anything, and that's why the return is so shitty, and it's just fool's gold, like Dallas Mavericks fool's gold, like you're saying, of like, well, at least it looks like we got something. When like if it turns into anything, people will be shocked. It would be a luck of the draw in a big way.
But you look at it this way. Okay, I'm gonna break this down with my logical brain. I'm taking the emotion out of it for the moment. I'll get back to the emotion because I know people like it when I'm fired up like this. But I'm gonna use my logical brain for a minute. Okay, we had three options. We had Sacramento, we had Memphis,
You're saying
and we
at
had
what point?
Indiana.
What time?
No, no, just listen to me now.
Who?
We
When are you
had
talking about?
no. I'm at various points through this process.
Of this year,
Okay,
last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years?
okay. Last at the trade deadline last year, we had an opportunity to do this deal with Memphis, which I was screaming from the high heavens, "We need to get this done," and they didn't want to do it. Then it was okay. The season progresses a little bit this year. We have a deal in place with Sacramento. Well, we still think we can compete, so we don't want to do that because we still had
See,
OG at that point.
but that's
Listen,
BS.
listen to me. Listen to me. And then we get to the point where we're out of it. OG's gone. We know we're not going to the playoffs. So we deal Siakam to Indiana for three first round picks and two players when we had better deals with both Memphis and Sacramento on the table before that point. What I am saying to you does this is this not ideal? Yes, it's not ideal. But we have three first round picks. We actually got four players and four picks out of these two players.
trash. I don't think getting trash is anything. Like just because you got return on paper doesn't mean that any of it's not trash. It's all
What
trash.
would you rather him have Pascal walk?
I would have rathered him do his job 2 years ago and figured out which way the franchise is going and picked a lane and stuck to it rather than walk a fence into oblivion, lose all your guys for next to nothing, and now have to put all your coins into Scotty Barnes on a guy who's probably a little disgruntled at this point, but he's still, going to be the leader. It's just like, why did it take this long? Because he's incompetent, and the organization as a whole has proven to be nothing but with the last 3 years. Like when you
Again, I
knew
go
they
back.
knew that they weren't going to compete at a certain point in the last 2 years, and it was quite clear. Freddie, Pascal, and OG all expiring, as well as Gary. They knew decisions were coming down the line, and they did nothing. And they want so for Freddie, Pascal, and OG, we got Quickly and RJ. That's what we got for if we had signed like those are three guys in their prime, and we've got yeah two guys in that are not even as good as any of those three back in return. That's poor gamesmanship. That's poor management. That's just not like it wasn't like it came up to a surprise end for these players and they demanded out. We've known that we had to pick a lane for 2 years and we didn't. And this is the result. Oh man, we got so lucky that we got Quickly in RJ because it could have so easily been nothing for this whole thing, and it would have been Detroit Piston-esque management and Chicago Bulls level
All
organization.
right,
You know?
let me take it back to where it hurts. Then let's go back to the beginning when the dinosaurs had to trade their first superstar. Vince, we got nothing for Vince Carter. We got
So
Alonzo Mourning. We got TJ Ford.
picking,
We got all these
yeah,
names on paper. We got nothing for Vince.
but
So you can't sit there and say, well, we didn't get nothing for these guys
you're looking
because
at that as a comparable thing. Like lots of players
it is a
do.
comparable thing.
Just because they were incompetent then doesn't mean they get to be incompetent now. That's
It's
not a.
comparable.
But why is that a pass? They should have gotten something for Vince then because they are an organization that's not the reverse. He's not in charge of them. They're in charge
This
of him,
is
and they
what
continue to
Raptors
fuck that up.
do, is
They're a
my
bad
point.
organization at sometimes the one good move
Not
they've made
sometimes, all the time.
trading for Kawhi was the actual business type decisions that they've been needing to make. And that was the one time they didn't. It worked out great. But
They got
man,
lucky with Kawhi.
yeah, but it was a very cold, emotionless business decision. And the rest of all our decisions feel like they're based in other things. And that's why it's so frustrating to see is it doesn't make sense in like strategic or basketball like levels. It's just like you've sat on the pot. You got to see so many examples of franchises make quality trades with guys who you knew weren't going to stick
They weren't
around.
quality trades.
No, no, I'm saying in
No,
the history of the league, and
no trade in the NBA in the last 3 years has really been a quality NBA trade.
there's been plenty, um, plenty of ones that have worked out for both teams.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
you're
we could go
you're
through some, and
mistaken.
if we went through them, there would be a few. There would be a few. So I'm
There
saying,
ain't many.
I don't know.
You're telling me the Brooklyn Nets are better off trading their three guys than they were when they had them? Not really.
Hmm, that
You're
would be a
telling
tough
me
one.
Utah's better off trading their guys? Not really.
Well,
This
maybe.
is this
Yeah.
this is the way the NBA works.
No, I think that's such a cop out. I think it like you're making excuses for horrible decision
I'm
making,
not
and it's
making excuses. I'm looking at the landscape of the league.
no, you're giving them excuses of saying like, oh, because all these other trades have been shitty, this one's fine too. It's like no, just because there's other
I'm
shitty
not saying it's
managers.
fine. I'm saying it's just as shitty as the rest of them.
There's plenty of teams that know how to make a quality trade when you need to. OKC, um, Philly in the last couple of years has made at least the right one since Simmons. Um, there's a lot of Phoenix in a sense.
Phoenix didn't make a good deal.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Phoenix has gotten worse since they added Kevin Durant, believe it or not.
Mm,
Somehow.
that
I
one
don't know how you add the second I don't
I
know how
won't
you add the
judge
best
that
player in the
one.
league and your team gets worse.
I won't judge that one until it's playoff time and over because those seem like Jimmy Butler guys that will show up for playoffs exclusively because they're just so deadly. But I don't think
You
they'll
you
win.
have the best player in the league. You can't get worse. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. That's how
Yeah.
it works. You
Well,
can't
they
have the
traded.
best player in the league and get worse.
Well, they traded 12 of 13 players, so they are going
Who
from
made
square
that
to
decision?
new
Who
new
made that
owner.
decision? Let
But
me think.
at least he made decisions. He came in there, that owner, and just immediately started making decisions. At least he made them. It didn't take him 3 years to come up with a
You ain't
horrible
looking too
decision.
smart right now.
It's so early. I wouldn't be. That's not fair to judge this early.
Are you serious? They have the best player in the league and the best, probably the best shooting guard in the league too,
There's
and
too
they
much
got
quality in the
worse.
league. Nah, there's too much. I don't think they're a good team, but I do think they'll be top three in the West in some sense. Like
They have the best player on the planet.
I think they'll be top three in the West still by the end of the season.
Okay,
Like in the playoffs, I mean.
okay.
Like I think they'll finish in the top three. Um,
We keep receipts around here, G.
it'll be Clippers, Nuggets, Suns.
See, I like this. The optimist is back now at the buzzer. I miss this guy.
I'm telling you, man. Though the Raptors one, we can't give them a pass on this. It's a trash
See,
result.
I'm not
Um,
giving them a pass. I'm judging it based on what I see the rest of the league doing,
but
and
we
that's a pretty
know
good haul.
that if they had not been so jaded and like arrogant, they could have traded these guys when they had a ton of value, a year and a half left on their contract, and gotten a better return. We can't say they wouldn't have got a better return because they would have. And the excuse is, oh, we wanted to see if we could get 10th or ninth. Like, excuse me? Like, there's no reason to
That's
give
what
up,
they were doing.
But that's the
That's the
craziest
reality we're
logic.
in.
That's the craziest logic in the world. If you're talking business, dimes and cents, to hang on to your assets so that you can get into something that's going to mean nothing, a night, one night of a game, because we lost the play into a 9-year-old girl. And that's it. Like that was the bet. That's why you held on to your $100 million guy. That's why you hang on to your other $200 million guy is for a night of getting beat by a 9-year-old girl. Cool. Like that's not a legitimate bet. That's a horrible decision that should get somebody fired.
See,
But
I
you
think
know,
your emotions are getting in the way of your logic here, G.
what were the percentage chances of them getting outside of 9 or 10 for non-emotional talk? The percentages were close to zero of them getting anywhere in the playoffs. Like 0. What? 9, 0.8. Like so small. And that's what they bet on. That's bad math, man. Don't bet on 0.5.
I didn't say it was bad math. I just explained to you what they're doing.
Yeah. So if somebody told you, yeah, I'm going to bet on this thing that has a 0.5% chance of working, you'd be like, how much are you betting on that? And what if they said $300 million? You'd be like, are you
G,
sure? And just because
remember,
they ended up getting a
remember,
little,
I'm consistent on this. I hammered the Mavs for this very same thing. I hammered the Mavs for this very same thing. This is not a new opinion of mine. I'm not playing favorites. I'm just telling you what the stupid Raptors management was doing, and they made a bad. You're right, they made a bad bet, but it's the bet they made, and we're stuck with it. So, given the circumstances, Bobby did the best job he could with the situation he was in.
I don't know. It's like crashing your parents' car and then being like, "Well, I found the license plate." It's like, bro, yeah, but you crashed the car. Like, let's be honest, you did, you know. And now we all got to work
but
on it, and like we,
but
you
you
know,
sit there, but you can sit there and say it's too early to judge Phoenix. And you can sit there and you say, "Oh, it's too
objectively,
early to judge this and that and the other thing."
because you're right
I'm
about
I'm
KD being that dude. Because in the playoffs, everybody agrees things change, and their odds go way up because you have the dude. You've got KD and Booker, so we'll
Yes,
see
you
type of
can't
thing.
have the dude and be this bad is what my point is.
But
You
regular
you
season's
have
regular season.
you have Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, and you're this,
Let me ask you this though:
and you're this.
at the end of the playoffs, what do you respect more? The Minnesota Timberwolves, who were number one all year and losing the first round, or would you respect more Phoenix Suns being in this position all year and
So
finish
they can
in
lose
the
in the second round.
no? Let's say they finish semifinals or finals in the West. Um,
Well, yeah, that's the second round.
would it be
That's
second?
not much better.
I
That ain't much
guess.
better.
Yeah,
That's the exact. You might as well be Minnesota.
but I think Minnesota's going to be out first round, right? So why be number one and lose first round when you could
So you can be number
outperform?
6 and lose in the second round.
Yeah, it's like you're outperforming your regular season, right? Which is what you want to do. You don't want to underperform your regular
That's
season.
fool's gold right there. That's that's a LeBron mentality. That's
No,
fool's gold. Because you know what you just told me. You know
I'm
what you
saying
just told me.
you don't want
Let
to
let's finish.
underperform them.
You just
You
told
don't
me.
want to
Let's finish.
underperform in your postseason. You know what I'm
Let's
saying?
just finish sixth, so that if we win, everybody's like, "Wow, look what they accomplished." If we lose, ah, they had a bad year because they finished sixth in the West.
Yeah,
You're
it's better.
giving me fool's gold.
But isn't the other one fool's gold of saying Minnesota number one all year? Like, wow, we're number one, and then you lose as if you were number eight. That's the
See,
bait and
see,
switch, right?
see, we see, but here's the thing: we clown Minnesota because they're the number one seed, right? But I'm
So far,
telling you, but I'm telling you, you cannot have the best player on the planet. Sorry, LeBron James, it's not you. You cannot have the best player on the planet finish sixth in the West, go out in the second round and go, well, what did you expect? They were sixth in the West. That's fool's gold.
let's say if you had two options, though, is what I'm saying. Would you rather be at number one and lose in first round, or would you rather be middle of the pack and finish middle of the pack? It's like I would rather finish middle of the pack based on expectations than be number
That's
one
not the
and come
expectation for the
in.
Suns, though.
Yeah, I don't know what their
That's what I'm trying to
expectations
tell
are.
you. That's not the expectations for the Phoenix Suns. If you think the expectation for the Phoenix Suns is to
No,
finish
no,
in
no.
the
I'm
top
saying
eight,
regular season doesn't matter as much. So if you finish number one in the regular season, nobody really
listen,
cares if you lose in the first round.
I'll put it in terms you can understand. G.
Yeah.
We hammered Masai for building an empire on him being protected no matter what happens, right? Kevin Durant is essentially doing the same thing because if he finishes sixth in the West, he can go out and say, "Look, we made it to the Western Conference Finals. We lost to the Denver Nuggets." If he finishes sixth in the West and goes out in the second round, well, that's what was supposed to happen because we're sixth in the West.
But the best
He's
player thing
protecting his.
doesn't add up too. Of like Steph Curry's in 12th, and he's the second. Well, I would say maybe the best player in the world.
Steph's not the best player in the league.
Uh,
Steph's not even close to the best player in the league.
I don't know. His numbers and impact would say that he's up there.
His impact.
Um,
You mean the impact that has his Golden State Warriors out of the play-in? What kind
well,
of
that's what I'm.
impact is that?
Well, that's what I'm saying, man. It's not always just one player. Like KD can't play all five positions. Steph
You've
Curry
got
can't
Devin
play
Booker
all.
and Bradley Beal.
I don't want to get into defending the Phoenix Suns, but I'm just saying, you know, regular season doesn't define the decision of bringing that
It
team. Like we'll see.
defines how well you're protected in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's an interesting point of like where you would land in terms of matchups and stuff, but that's all that regular season really matters for is who are you playing in the playoffs. So it doesn't matter if
That
you're 1 or 8. It matters how far you get in the playoffs because those are the real um, things that matter.
keep that same energy when Phoenix goes out. That's the
Yeah.
only thing I'm gonna say. Keep keep that. Remember, I had the same energy when Phoenix goes out in the playoffs. You remember this energy that I had when I hammered KD for finishing sixth in the West, and I hammered the Suns for going out early because I know they can be better. And then you come out and say, well, that's where they were seated, so you can't put that expectation on the Suns. You remember they're expected to be better.
Uh, are they?
Yes,
I
you
don't
can't
know.
have three players like that and not be better.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I really want to see them in the playoffs. Honestly, like I just am curious.
See, this is the magic's already working. G, they've already got you fooled, bro. The Suns are doing exactly what they want. That's
Yeah.
exactly what they want. Cause now when KD loses, you're gonna defend him.
Well, here, let's put this to
Come,
you. Let's put this to you. Minnesota versus Phoenix first round. Who wins?
Phoenix should win.
Who do you think will win?
Phoenix should win. Phoenix. If I had to put my house on it, I'd put my money on Phoenix.
Right. So it doesn't
That's
matter
my
that they're
point.
eighth. It doesn't matter that they're eighth. They're fine. Right. That's my point. Is it doesn't matter if they're eighth now. They'll come into the
My
playoffs and
point
still
is,
be number one.
if the Suns finish eighth, you're gonna come out on this podcast and you're gonna find reasons to defend Kevin Durant.
But
Just remember,
for the reason
I
I'm just
had
telling
this.
you.
Just remember, I had this smoke in the regular season too. That's all I'm saying.
But you just sort of confirmed what I was saying. Of if you're going to pick Phoenix over the number one Wolves, what does your ranking in the season really matter? Of your, you know, um,
Because other people will say, "Oh, what did you expect? They're an eight seed, and they're better than an eight seed." And you and I both know that.
but if they beat the number one seed, then they do prove that, right?
But if they lose, then people will go, "They're an eight seed."
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think they'll still give them a little bit of snap because it's KD, right? Like the expectations for KD,
You
no matter
can't
where he
be
is.
that dude and play this poorly, is what I'm saying.
I I wish I could agree, but Jimmy Butler has proven wrong every year, right? They'll play like horrible all year, and then he shows up and it's game on.
But if you get okay, let me put it to you
LeBron,
this way:
look at LeBron.
LeBron has it set up that way.
That's what I'm saying. People are use it as a system, and they're doing it too. And I would still wait till the playoffs to judge them based on that because they're not showing all their
I'm not
potential.
because I'm not because I want the record to show that I have the same smoke in
Oh,
January that I'm gonna have in May when the Suns go out. I want that on the record because that's ridiculous. Because Phoenix is gonna finish seventh or eighth. If they finish that low, they got to come in through the play-in, and everybody be like, "Oh man, why are you picking on the Suns? Because they were the eighth seed. Nobody expected nothing from them anyway." That's
well, I think
ridiculous.
no. I think people do expect something because of KD, though. Like you're saying, everybody knows he's the guy. So even if they finish eighth, people are going to expect them to still beat Minnesota because it's KD. So the expectations don't really change depending whether he's 8 or 1. They're expecting KD to do KD things because he's KD. Everybody does, right? So the expectations will still be there. He can't escape it. He's too good to escape his
I hope you're
expectations.
right because I've seen too many times it goes the other way.
And he throws
Too
too
many
much.
times.
He throws too much smoke to not get it back. Like he's too much of a instigator that the
You know how many times
expectations for him.
you know how many times I've heard that argument though of, oh, what did you expect? They were the 7th seed.
Hmm,
So don't tell me it doesn't matter, because it does matter when these arguments come up.
yeah, I just I'll be curious if people don't have expectations because it seems that no matter where LeBron or KD finish, people will have expectations for them to do magical things based on who they are. And they're too big to escape it, I think. Um,
I don't know. I'm not letting KD and the Suns off the hook. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, and I'm sort of just saying let the playoffs go until then we can give a more accurate assessment once we see the full
I'm
pick,
not I don't have a crystal ball. I'm looking at the team as I see it right now.
which is fair. Yeah, and I wouldn't be excited about this team, but I'm going to just hold off that little bit until we see the end. Just
I'm not, because the one thing I would always resent is if somebody said, "Oh, look at Mo coming with the smoke for the Suns in May now that they're out kicking the Muller down." No, I kicked them in January, and I just want people to remember that in May when I'm doing it again when they go out in the second round.
yeah. Who do you think? I don't know. Grayson Allen put in 29 the other night. This guy could go off.
Look, I love Grayson Allen because he's a Dookie Blue Devil,
Yeah.
and you think I'm going to come back with an emotional response because Grayson had 29. Look, Grayson had the best game of his life
He's had a
last
couple
night.
good ones, man. He's had a couple really good games this season. That's like great to
Okay,
see.
then why is Phoenix so bad? Why are we giving them a pass?
I'm not necessarily giving him a pass. Just they still make me curious more than other teams. Like I don't
Just,
fear
just, just
Minnesota.
remember,
I don't
just
fear
remember, Mo had the
OKC.
smoke in Jan. Just remember, Mo had the smoke in January.
And I'll say they scare. If I were a Western team, they scare me more than the majority of the latter half. Right?
That's my point.
Like I wouldn't
That's
if I
my point.
was.
If they finished sixth
Uh,
or through eight, people are gonna let them skate. You watch.
I don't think so. I think people will call that a massive disappointment. Like the Milwaukee Bucks last year. Did anybody give Giannis a pass? It was like, no, he
No, but
didn't. He
Giannis
gave
was being
himself
a
the pass.
moron. Giannis did it. Giannis embarrassed himself. That's what happened. If
Yeah.
look, if Giannis just came out and said, "Yeah, that's a fucking embarrassment. That shouldn't have happened," we would have left. It wouldn't even have been a story. The only reason Giannis going out in the first round was a story was because Giannis was a dumbass and was like, "Oh, gee, is it really a disappointment if you don't get a
Uh,
promotion every year?"
I think people would have still been saying, hey, Bucks failure, 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 first round failure. That would have been a big deal. Um, I'm looking at the West
And
right now.
and and you know what? Well, I'm glad you brought that up because you know what? The Bucks just came together and they're running through the East. So why does Phoenix get a pass?
Because for the same reason that I'm going to hold out my judgment on the Bucks, same reason the Suns, because I want to see them in the playoffs still. Like, again, great if you have a regular season or not. Let's see how this works in the playoffs because I'm unfortunately so much is weighted on that players are skewering their seasons to kind of ramp up all the way there to that point being the serious time. um, so it makes it hard to put in a full judgment on what this is going to look like in uh, April, May.
No, it doesn't.
Well, did you expect the Heat to go the way they did?
No.
Nobody expected the Lakers to go where they did. Nobody expected Mavs go where they did
Ah,
the other
don't,
year.
don't, no, no,
Like,
don't, because the Lakers got whooped in the finals and they
hey,
didn't deserve to be there. They
I'm
didn't
just
deserve to
saying
be
what
there
I
in the
saw.
first place.
Just saying what I saw. Those are the numbers, right? They came in as a really
Oh,
high
oh,
seed. So
Oh,
all
you
the
got jokes, do you? You
just
got jokes. You're just
just
calling
call
it like you see it.
yeah. uh, what do you think is going to work out for the top six? So not play in, but right now we've got Kings, Pelicans, Mavs, Clippers. Oh, sorry, not
All
Kings.
right, I'm pulling out the standings right now. Are we doing the East or the West first?
West. I'm looking at the top six being Pelicans, Mavs, Clippers, Nuggets, Thunder, Timberwolves. Pelicans being the six. So I think that's going to stick? No. I think
See, look at this right now. Okay, let's play this out. Okay, so we have 9 versus 10. Utah versus the Lakers. The Lakers will win that game.
you don't say.
And then you go 7 versus 8. Sacramento and Phoenix. Now that's a dangerous game for Phoenix.
For Sacramento too. Um,
It's
Knowing
a
the
danger.
NBA, what do you think that game will go like?
It depends who gets to set the tempo. If they play Phoenix Suns tempo, the Suns will win. If they play Sacramento basketball, Sacramento will win.
What if Ben Taylor's reffing?
Then Durant wins.
Exactly. Next one.
Okay, and then let's just say, for the sake of the discussion, let's say both 7 and 8 advance, which would be the Phoenix Suns and the Sacramento Kings. Just take it easy. Not saying that'll happen, but let's just say, for example, that happens. Okay, so the first round then would be Minnesota versus Phoenix. Who are you taking in that series?
Well, that was the one we just talked about, right? Phoenix.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But because they're the 8th seed, people will be like, "Oh, they were the 8th seed. What are you bitching about?"
Uh, we'll see if people give them that pass. So much star power, like you're saying, that if they don't do
Uh,
anything in the playoffs, people will judge them pretty harshly.
and then the other first round matchup would be number 2 Oklahoma versus number 7 Sacramento. I hate to say it, but I like the Kings in that series.
Hmm.
If it goes that way, I like the Kings in that series.
Interesting. I don't disagree with you, to be honest. The OKC is just so young. Like the bright lights are going to cut them in a few different ways that
Yeah,
they can't prepare for, right? It's like the Cleveland Cavs when they stepped into the Garden and were like, it should be fine. Plus, we played in the Garden before, and then they just got
th-
trounced, looking like they had never played, in a busy arena before because it was just overwhelming. The
three
playoff
versus six.
different.
I got Denver in 6 games over New Orleans. I
Denver
got Denver in
versus
6 over New Orleans.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I don't think Denver's going anywhere for anywhere. And then Clippers, Mavs. Who do you got?
See, this is the dream series for G because G knows I have to pick one of these teams.
Yeah. Yeah,
And you know what? I'm gonna be boring and I'm gonna say Dallas.
that's not boring. That's to me a very bold pick.
But I will tell you why. Because I'm a what does history show me guy, right? History shows me that PG doesn't show up for the playoffs. James Harden doesn't get the calls in the playoffs, which means Kawhi, if he can still do it, would have to carry the Clippers by himself against Luca, Kyrie, and the Mavs. So I'm taking the Mavs. It'll be a close series. It'll probably go 7, but I got the Mavs taking out the Clippers.
You make good arguments on that. I can't dis disagree with some of those arguments, but I do think that it's going to be a close series, like you're saying. I think there's going to be some tough
I
ones where,
said it would be close. It'll
yeah,
probably go 7. The Mavs take it in 7.
Yeah, there's like some energy that's bubbling there that again, history says we shouldn't respect it for too much yet. Again, similar to the regular season curse thing, it's like we'll see. But watching
But the Clippers
PG
have
take
done this
over,
for 50 years.
no doubt. But man, watching PG the other night was just like, damn, this guy is just really
Did you
good.
see PG last spring?
What's
Did you
that?
see PG last spring?
No, I can't remember last spring to be honest.
There you go. Did they do anything last spring? No, they did not.
No, but this one is a very different team. So who knows? Who knows? But I
Yeah,
am
it's
going to
got three
say,
ball hogs instead of two.
but they're playing so well together. They're playing like non-ball hogs. They're playing like basketball players, which is the scariest thing for the West. They should
All right,
hope.
I got the. Uh, just
They should
know I
hope.
got a first round exit for the Clippers, but I'm just.
Right. I'm saying,
But
unfortunately, it's
hey,
going Clippers in six. Um, I think they're
so
gonna.
so here's the
Think they're
East.
gonna cream them.
9 versus 10, Chicago or Brooklyn. I
Oh
might take the Bulls on that one.
no, no.
I might take the Bulls on that one.
The Bulls are too just sick organizationally that something will. Yeah, I just can't imagine.
Here's a game that interests me, though. If I did watch the play-in, which I don't, but this game would interest me. It's New Orleans or Orlando versus New York.
Mm.
That is an interesting ball game.
I think New York takes that. They've got playoff experience.
Uh, I'm kind of leaning towards Orlando on that one.
If you
Orlando's got some dogs with Suggs and Bankero. I
too
like
young,
New I like
too young.
I like Orlando.
Uh, you're dealing with the big brothers of the dogs, though. You know, Brunson's like Suggs' big brother. You know, like Julius Randle's like Bankero's big brother. Like those dudes are all very similar, except more
Mm,
grizzled,
I'm I, well,
more road
I'm going
tough.
with the little brothers. Then that's what I'm saying.
All right, all
I-
right. I'm not saying they're
I'm
bad,
taking the little
but
I'm taking the little brothers to the playground. That's what I'm saying.
I think you would
And
lose money on that one.
money's like water; it comes and goes.
Amen. Just some places faster than others.
By the way, if you're still listening to us ramble here, don't
Yeah.
forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Because if you're still
Go.
here, you're already part of the family, anyways. So,
Wow.
same deal as last time. Let's say the Knicks win, and let's say Orlando finishes eighth, just to keep it simple. That would mean in the first round, you got the Boston Celtics versus the Orlando Magic.
Should be fine
That's
for
going to be a
Boston.
dogfight. That's a dogfight. I got Boston in six.
I think five. I think they get one at home, maybe. But I think Boston's
I
quite
think
serious this year.
I
They're
think Boston lets up on the pedal for that extra game, and I got Boston in six.
all right,
Because
all
Tatum
right.
and Brown do that. Tatum and Brown seem to let their foot off the gas.
But they got Holiday now. They've got an adult in the room. Like Marcus Smart wasn't the adult in the room. Now they have
I'm
an
just
adult
go.
in the room.
I'm just telling you what history shows me, dude.
But they didn't have Holiday.
Then we'd have Bucks and Knicks. I got the Bucks winning that one in five.
Bucks and the Knicks. Ooh. I think the Knicks would give them a harder run. And that's interesting that the Pacers would be that close because if it's Bucks Pacers, I could see Bucks with an early exit in the first round again, especially with Siakam now. Because they didn't lose anything and they've already beat Milwaukee four times. Um,
Well, that
yeah.
ain't the matchup we're getting to yet.
So yeah, against the
Number three,
Knicks, I'm going to say it's going the other way for a couple more games than that. Maybe a 6 or 7 gamer for that one.
number three versus number six. Indiana versus Philly.
Indiana can't compete in the middle. That'll be just too much Embiid. Um,
Philly and six.
yeah, and that's being kind, but yeah.
And then the last matchup, Cleveland versus Miami, and Miami got dogged tonight by the Raptors.
Yeah, yeah. Like I think that's a very interesting one there. Cavs Heat. Like if the Raptors play like this every night, they're as good as the Cavs Heat that
Okay, number
everybody's.
one, let's just say that right now the Raptors won't play like this every night. I know that
No,
because they shot 70% from three in the first quarter. That doesn't happen every night. So,
Gary Trent 8 for 9, and he went like what was it like? It was yeah, his whole shooting percentage. He missed like 3 shots on like 15. It's insane.
but I'm taking the Heat because the Heat always seem to find a way.
I think Heat in 7.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah,
We
it'll be a
really got to
heartbreak.
get Rolla on here for that Heat check segment.
Yeah, man, and boy, I'd be curious what he thinks of the game today.
I think he would have ducked us today, but I'm not sure.
Oh, 37 point lead at one point there was looking pretty good.
But that's the way it shakes out. And the reason I bring that up is because your seating does matter. And I just don't want anybody getting a pass. That's all.
That's
I
true.
hate when people get I hate when people get passes when they're better than when they're worse than they're supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah, that's I can't disagree with that. But who's going like if we played the rest of that out? Do you think you've got an idea of who you have going to the end?
I already told you. It'll be the Bucks and Celtics in the East final, with the Bucks probably winning.
Mm, bold.
And in the West, I still like Denver.
Yeah,
I still like Denver. I don't have a fourth team to put in the Western Conference Finals, but I still like Denver.
yeah. Oh God, yeah. It's a real crapshoot to see who would be the number two against them right now. I think it's anybody's. You're right. It could be, and it could literally be 10-2 right now, or one maybe even, where it could be Lakers, it could be Suns, it could be Clippers, it could be Mavs, it could be Thunder, it could be Wolves. You know, like only ones I don't think it would be is Pelicans and Kings.
I don't think the Kings are ready.
No, and Pelicans are still just yeah missing you know a length of time of cohesion of actually playing as a unit, right?
Well, if Zion ever decided to play basketball again, they might have a.
Yeah, what a tough one on that.
Gee, we haven't even talked about the one thing that's on the horizon. That is the NBA All Star Weekend.
Oh yes,
And the
I,
reason I haven't brought it up yet is because I don't really care about All Star Weekend anymore.
yeah, yeah. They've not done a good job of maintaining it. Um, to me, it seems like they sold it. You know, they didn't balance
Yeah.
it, the balance between a good corporate sponsor and your corporate sponsor being the main event. It's like the main event shouldn't be spread. Like basketball should still be at the heart of this. And of course they're not going to play for any like outside of their sweats because it's for Sprite. It's not for them. It's to get together, party, get celebration going and stuff, but it doesn't have soul to me, you know, and it used to have a bit of soul. Uh,
Well, the players don't care anymore. And if the
in this
players
day
don't
and
care,
age,
why
yeah,
should I care?
and like how many of these votes are we believing are legit and how many are a result of who's got more money to pay for bots to vote like
I haven't voted for an All Star game since MJ retired.
yeah man and just think of how technology's changed since then where like we the voting um the
I still get I still get the
verification
emails.
Like,
I still get the emails from the association telling me to vote in the All Star game, but the last time I voted for an All Star game was the last year MJ played in one.
and hey, man, but you probably need the same amount of ID or whatever to verify the vote, right? Like they're not checking ID to see who's voting, so you could have a server farm somewhere where you've got 1,000 people all day just voting, and it's supposed to mean
How
something.
does LeBron win favorite vote every year?
Well, when you
You
can
can't
buy,
tell me he's everybody's favorite player.
no, you can just, well, we're international is pretty staggering, because it's like the only team internationally for a lot of things, right? Like Austin Reeves for when they were in the state in uh, Philippines, for the international competitions, because Austin Reeves was a Laker, he was like a god there. Like they loved the Lakers so much. LeBron carries that torch, right?
I love Austin Reeves. I will not tolerate any Austin Reeves slander on this podcast.
Wasn't slander. Wasn't slander. Was just saying he was treated as a royalty there
By the
because
way, my boy's averaging 15 points a game. Just
hey,
just as an update.
I'll respect you know good
But
role
Austin
players, but
shouldn't be our third best player. I'm sorry. I love you, Austin, but you shouldn't be our third best player.
and yeah, and again, nothing against him. Just the valuation of him was way too high. I called it at the time. You guys are going crazy over nothing. Like this guy's decent role player, but relax. And it's definitely come down to that. Like he's not a good defender, a decent role player. He shouldn't be your third best player.
Which he's turning out to be our third best player, which is
And
a
hey,
problem.
maybe he grows into a lethal playoff player where he levels up his game even more and becomes
The
a.
mistake the Lakers could make is to trade Austin Reeves right now.
I was scared the Raptors were going to get him. Honestly, I felt this weird something in the force. I was like, no, no, don't let it go this way. It's Pirtle 2. I don't need Pirtle 2 on my team.
Oh,
Another
now
$20
that's
million
close to
for.
slander. You watch yourself. You watch yourself. That's pretty close to slander there when you compare him to Jakob Pertl.
Hey, Jakob shows up every night and hustles his ass off. I respect him for
Oh
that.
no, he twisted his ankle. He hasn't played in a week and a half.
Fair enough. They might have told him to that as they're shopping him right now too. Um,
What?
I
You
wouldn't be
mean
surprised.
to tell me you uh, rant incoming? So if you want to fast forward the pod until I'm done talking, I understand. But rant incoming. You mean to tell me that they gave this fool $80 million, sent a second round pick, or sent a first round pick to San Antonio, which is top six protected, which thank God it is for that. But
What
but
if we
you
get
mean to tell me, you
number
mean to
seven
tell
this
me,
year?
huh?
What if we get number 7 this year and it goes to
And it
San
goes to San
Antonio?
Antonio.
And you think he shouldn't lose his job?
You just called it a week. You just spent a half hour calling it a weak draft anyway.
Yeah,
So what are you worried about?
I'm saying that Bobby Webster should lose his job.
Would you rather have your first round pick this year or next year? If you have to think about it, it's just next year.
Yeah, I guess so. Next year. But at the same time, I'm wanting to build now of at least see who's proven. Like, because this is the whole thing. We're seeing a massive gap between draft and real life, and the real
Hey,
life comparables are
you're
tough.
interrupted. You're interrupting the rant. I'll be with you in 30 seconds. Just you mean to tell me that they gave this stupid clown $80 million, and in year one of this 4 year deal, they're gonna trade him
I would.
for what? Why would you make the deal in the first place?
Why would you hang on to Fred VanVleet? Why would you hang on to Pascal Siakam? Why would you hang on to OG as long as you did? All of the things they did were wrong.
I explained to you why they held on to the other three.
And I
I
told you
didn't
why
say
that
it
was
was smart.
mathematically insane.
I didn't say it was smart. I just explained why they did it.
Here's the rule of thumb for general managers. If you have a 5% chance of winning the title, you think about going for it. If you have a 15 to 20% chance, you go for it. If you have a 0.01% chance for it, you're not going for it.
Well, the Mavs didn't agree with that math because they sat everybody and let their playoff hopes fade.
No, they did exactly what I'm recommending is when you realize that you're not going for it, you don't go for it. You don't trade for Jakob Pertl. You don't hang on to Fred VanVleet if you know you're not going for it. You do what Dallas did and you sit your
But the
guys.
Raptors were going for it.
They were
You know
going
what?
for
You know what the Raptors are? They're the guy who wins at the casino but doesn't leave.
it. A little bit.
That's
Or just wanders around the casino the whole time until they're like, "Sir, are you gonna buy anything?" And then he's like, uh, and then buys something in a panic, and then is like, oh, what do I do with this $80 million player? And oh, geez, where's my guy going? Yeah, and it's like, oh man, just a series of
so,
unfortunate events. But having said all of that, the Raptors looked like they were having so much fun tonight and were moving the ball real good. And yeah,
just
Jakob
remember,
Pertl's
Bob. Just remember, Bobby. I was on your side tonight. Okay, just remember that, Bobby.
and also remember that Jakob Pertl wasn't playing today too. To touch on your rant there of like, hey, move him for a younger piece, of a high flyer
He
like
just got here.
he's a pretty slow big man that doesn't fit the age group or the culture to me. But maybe he'll stay. I don't know.
We
Um,
gave up. We gave up so much to bring him back.
Again, we made all the moves going according to a team that would be making a playoff run, which made zero sense for the last 3 years. And this is where we're in agreement, right? Is why would you do any of this? This is all wrong. And we're thankfully, the team's looking decent despite making every wrong general manager move you could.
Again, I go back to the Leafs. Would you have it the other way where they keep doubling down on the same four guys that don't accomplish nothing?
Well, that's what they did until they walked out the door. It's like we didn't do anything with it. They just left. And we begged for some change on the way out. But like, and they were kind enough to, I don't know what we had to do behind closed doors to get those picks, but it was to save face, in my opinion, because it's not a series of good decisions that brought you there.
So, are we are we gonna have a trade deadline special pod? Because I'm pretty sure the trade deadline's on like a Thursday. Are you gonna criticize everybody who makes stupid moves, or is this just a Raptors specific thing because you're attached? See, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this is a Raptor venom because you're attached to the franchise.
No, because I know
I
you
get the
agree with me.
feeling,
I know you agree with
huh?
that all of the decisions have been wrong, right? Like it's just not this one. This is a consequence of a chain reaction of bad decisions. And it was the final bad decision is the most positive thing we can say about it is like, oh, at least it's a decision.
What happened? Where'd he go?
Oh, this changed.
See, you made the podcast gods mad, and they stopped you halfway through your rant there.
I
Continue,
broke the internet. uh,
continue.
yeah, as far as chain reactions go, this is sort of like where the corner that they're put into, not because they chose this being an ideal place, but no, because you failed at making the right or any decision for so long that this is the result. So, having said all that, I still think we've got a great little core of quickly Barnes and room to grow. RJ too. And Trent, man, he looked great tonight, and
Yeah, he's
wonderful
gonna be
sight.
the next one to go. Don't get attached.
Well,
Then
this
you'll
is
be
the thing.
upset when they trade.
I don't think it's an emotional attachment so much because I feel like I could say this about whatever team's gonna just send away assets for nothing when they made a horrible bet. Like they made a bet on themselves when it was 0 point whatever chance of winning a title. Like that's just foolish. That's just insulting to your fans and stuff to not take better care of your assets.
But the
That's all.
Raptors fans bought it.
Yeah, and it's unfair because again, we're just getting um, a series of bad decisions shined up as not so bad. It's like no, 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 this is bad. Let's just call it as it is. It's bad,
No,
but
but see, the
we're
problem
moving
is
on.
the problem is you and I are hardcore fans. The average Raptor fan bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, and I mean around the league, it sounds great, right? 3 first round picks. Oh my god! And then you see what our first round picks have been for the last, or first and second round picks for the last 7 years, and it's like I don't recognize any of those names.
See,
I don't
here's
think they're even
here,
in the NBA.
here,
Like I said, Jack
here,
Armstrong has spent more time on the NBA floor than our last 7 draft picks outside of Scotty.
here's my conundrum. I guess is where I'm trying to catch up to you. Okay, and maybe you can follow me on this because I'm always the guy that's like, let's see what history says, and I go off of that because that's a database that I have. And you're the guy that's always like, oh, well, let's wait and see how this pans out. And this time we've completely reversed roles. And I'm like, this is a haul we got for a two-time All-Star. Let's see what we can do with it. And you're the guy that's like, well, history shows me that this doesn't work out well for us.
Mm-hmm.
How did this happen? Where does this come from where we just magically switched roles on this one specific thing?
It's a really
because
good
because
question.
every time because and the reason I bring that up is because every time I bring up the Clippers, you're like, this feels different.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
I'm trying to figure out where you're coming from here, G. You're kind of abandoning ship here.
well, I think, like Bob Dylan said, it contains multitudes. And, who knows? We got lots of complex layers here, man. Um, I think it could be that you were really excited to see anything at all happen. Your expectations were already so low, and my expectations were still of competence. I was expecting somebody to still make a good, finding a weak team that has a vulnerability and exploiting it and taking advantage of it so you can negotiate a good return for your best assets. That's the name of the
Do
game.
that in a position of power. The Raptors were not in a position of power.
And that's because they did it to themselves, right? So I can't objectively, even if I had no association with them whatsoever, say that this is a good result for the era, for a return. Like it's at the bottom of what teams would be looking at for those quality of players when you knew this far ahead where it was going. It's different if it was a surprise that, oh, okay, suddenly you're just no good anymore. But no, no, we've known. Everybody's known, and we just didn't do anything. So from asset management, F minus. From conclusion of where we are now, hey, not so bad. Addition by subtraction. Siakam's gone, which frees up Scotty, which frees up the flow. New coach, new culture. Um, Overall, I'm still positive. It's just the reality is pretty uh, straight up that their history is not a good one for drafts. Can't be excited about that. And we had 3 guys walk out the door for nothing.
This is the strangest thing to be on the other side of this
Well, again, I think your
because
expectations were just so low that the fact that Bobby Marks showed up and put his name on the sign-in sheet for work today or for yesterday, it's like, holy crap, Bobby Marks is still here, right on. Or is that his name? Bobby Webster. Sorry, I keep getting those guys
Bobby
mixed up.
Webster.
Bobby Webster. It's like, oh yeah, just because he's put his name on the sign-in sheet once, like I don't know. That's a pretty low bar. And I'm just
I
saying the
like the
bar
move.
should be higher.
I like the move because Manu Ginobili was a second round pick. Joker was a second round pick.
Oh, we
You
can't get
can't
into
judge a
that.
draft.
I can't get into that
You
because
can't.
yeah, it's a lottery. The entire draft is a lottery, and that's why it's not that valuable. Because when you're making bets, you want to go with probabilities. The probabilities of you getting a Jokic in the second round is like 0.001%, but it does happen. It's just 0.001%. So you trade me a 0.001 for a guaranteed player that rocks. That's not a fair trade. That's BS.
I will remind you that you've been asking to trade Siakam all season long.
Under what I would, if I was in management, I would have been clamoring for it, the whole time. But to actually bring back a Matherin, bring back a piece to be excited
They're
about.
not giving you a Matherin.
Well, then you're not getting Siakam, and I'll let him walk for nothing because what you're offering me is nothing, right? Like, oh, you want to be better
Then you're
this year? Give me a McConnell. Give me a Matherin. Give me a
McConnell not
Turner.
that good. I've seen McConnell play.
He's a dog though, and he's a decent 3-point shooter. At least he's proven. 3 draft picks, we could go 0 for 3, which is what history says we will. You know, like 7 years of bad picks says we'll go 0 for 3.
Oh,
So what?
it's a franchise worth of bad picks.
Exactly. So in my mind, if you could have at least gotten one or two exciting young players that are proven to be NBA ready, that's all you really needed and could have hoped for. But instead, we're going with the Masai lottery, pick up some, randos that he thinks are going to be special and may or may not turn out. But um, just asset return and management is a fail.
I go back to what I said at the top of the podcast. You can't say plant your flag, plant your flag, plant your flag repeatedly, and then the flag gets planted, and then you're like, oh shit.
Well, yeah, don't plant it in your own zone. The point of football is to get it into the other zone. It's not to just take a loss, right? Like, if you're going to plant the flag, don't plant it in your own foot. You know what I'm saying? I didn't say that. I said, run down the field, make a deal, and plant it. But we just settled for the last of the barrel. I was like, here's some first round picks. You can put it on the headline saying you got 3 first rounders. I said, yes, we can. And that's all it's going to be on paper. Um,
But
if you can,
I hate to break it to you, but either way, we took of the three teams I mentioned we had deals with, we we picked the worst dance partner because Indiana's not that talented to begin with.
yeah, they're probably the only dance partner. Honestly, I don't think Sacramento was probably offering anything, and Golden State is in such a tirade they probably need to get through to them. But I would have loved to see a Kuminga. There's another one. Like, give us a Kuminga and
They're not
salary match.
giving you Kuminga.
But that's what I mean is like, how did you get into a position that you couldn't trade Siakam for a Kuminga? That's horrible management.
That
And
was never on the table. Even 2 years ago, that was never on the table.
you don't think
Memphis
they,
didn't even put that on the table.
of a
The
young
deal
player
for
like a
Siakam was the deal for Siakam even 2 years ago when it was Memphis was first round picks. This was always going to be the deal. It was just a matter of what team we were
no
getting them
way.
from.
No way. There was way, way better postures. Way, way better. That was one
This was
option out of
always going to be the
many.
deal.
No, that's the saddest, lowest bar expectation. And if that's the bar, we might as well put Pistons on our jerseys because that's where it's going to go. Like,
But that was the Memphis offer was three first round pick. It was the same offer we got today.
that's a horrible
It just
offer
took us.
then. It's a horrible offer now because there are better options than that. There would have
We
been
didn't get any.
because we've got
Not that
horrible
I heard.
management. Yeah, that's because that's my whole point though is we've had horrible management that didn't do anything with it.
But I'm saying that was the deal 6 months ago. That was the deal we got today.
That was
So
one deal reported, right? But I also heard tons of other deals that were reported that people wanted Siakam for, that were going to offer other things than draft assets. Everyone from the Mavs to the
okay, the Mavs, that wasn't happening because they got Kyrie and Luca, so that wasn't happening anyway.
well, he would have still been able to play for the season, um, which would have been a powerful three piece. That would have been really, really decent. But I remember a couple pieces involved with that were interesting. I think, boy, who else was it? Orlando was interested at one point. Um, that's just lots. If you could have just gotten one or two proven players for Freddie, for Pascal, for it's like you got quickly an RJ for OG. That's that's okay. Like like why couldn't we do that for our biggest players?
Because that was always going to be the deal.
That's just maybe like why it failed is because that's what they value themselves at, is like if that's what you think you're going to get, that's what you're going to get. But if you actually do some good general managering, like Sam Presti or something like that, you go and get guys that are going to be rock stars in their roles, not random picks from Indiana for Pascal Siakam. Like, do you think if Shea Gilgis Alexander got traded, 3, 4 years from now, still in this prime, still all NBA and stuff, and they got three late first rounders, you say that's good management? you know,
My whole thing is this: you're upset because we got exactly what the going rate was for Pascal Siakam.
I don't think that's a fair assessment. I'm upset
That
that
was
we've
the
made
deal that was offered six. That was the same deal that was offered 6 months ago. That was the going rate for Pascal. What I'm saying to you is that you're right. We picked the wrong dance partner. We should have picked either Sacramento or Memphis, because we could have got a Tyus Jones out of this.
could have gotten a even man just anything like
But Indiana doesn't have the talent to send anybody back because they need everybody on the roster.
it's and honestly, if Siakam was traded back when you're talking about, he still then would have had a whole year under his thing, so he would have been a more valued asset than what it is now, just by the very nature of that contract. So I guarantee you there would have been at least a return for a player that's still a year under contract in his prime and ready to go. Like there could have been a deal for that. I can't believe that there wouldn't be. Um,
So do you have a dude of the week this week or what?
let's go with Mike Conley. Don't even know if he's playing this week, but I'm just going to say Mike Conley. He's just been killing it for so long, and the type of dude that you want on your team. He's consistent. He's always putting in high efficiency numbers. Makes your team better. Whatever team he's on, he just makes them better.
Would you be happier if it was Buddy Hield?
Big time.
If we got Buddy Hield from Indiana, would you feel better about today's deal?
Yeah, yeah. I think that again, you've got a proven scorer that
That's a low bar.
better than
Buddy
nothing.
Hield's not really proven.
More proven than three possible more Coloco, Grady Dicks, Delano Bantons.
What do you got against Grady?
Well, playing G League at
Grady
a
had
when you're a
Grady had a
13th
Magic
pick.
Johnson spin move tonight. Did you see that?
No, I missed it.
Grady had like a Magic Johnson like spinorama tonight.
I hope he
I
turns
hope they
out
showed
into
on the
something.
highlights.
Yeah, I hope he does. At 13th pick, that's what Halliburton was. So um,
See, that's what I mean. You can't judge these draft picks because we haven't spent them yet.
That's where we go. Okay, are we a good development squad? No. Have we drafted well in the past in 7 years? No. Have we drafted well ever? No.
Oh, what's happening here? Is he coming back? See, you're upsetting the podcast gods.
Uh oh. I don't know how or why, but I apologize, podcast gods. Uh,
Did the phone just cut out there or what?
yeah, I don't know. Internet sometimes maybe fluctuating.
Oh, maybe. But
Um,
anyway, I'm just saying he got the deal he would have gotten anyway. Only with Memphis, they would have been three higher picks. So there's that.
yeah, yeah. No matter what, you would have had a higher return if you sold them earlier than later. It's just the fundamentals of business. Like we held on to an asset way too long, and this is what you get, and it's fine. But this is like hanging on to a stock, and it's at its near lowest, and we sell, and it's like, all right, yeah, good job for selling, because if you held down to zero, it's zero. But just because it's more than zero is tough to define as success.
Yeah, but if you let him walk for nothing, then the media and everybody else hammers you for being a fool for letting him walk for nothing.
So, yeah, that's what I mean. We're letting them off the hook by getting this fake return. This is my whole point of why I'm upset, is because we should just be upset for letting them walk for nothing, because that's essentially what's happening. They're shining up a horrible series of decisions and being like, look, it's not that bad. It is that bad. Don't lie to me. That's my whole thing.
This is my whole Phoenix Suns argument.
Yeah.
People be like they finished where they should be. No, they didn't. They fooled you. That was my whole Phoenix Suns argument.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they'll. Yeah, I wish the Raptors would have a bit more honesty and integrity when it comes to their decision making, because it seemed just like somebody forgot that they had a job. Forgot that they they were supposed to do stuff for 3 years. It was like you're
Again,
supposed to
I will
assess.
reiterate. I will reiterate. Bobby Webster is my dude of the week. I think he did a great job.
Dude, I think Mike Conley did a better job of managing the Raptors this week than Bobby Webster.
And Mike Conley doesn't manage the
Well,
Raptors.
that's what I'm saying. He had so little to do with them that he did as good a job as Bobby Webster did, which was zero. He could have.
I hope these three first round picks turn into Hall of Famers and I get to go back to this podcast and
Hey,
be like, see, G, I told you.
that's somebody like it's like saying, you're silly for buying lottery tickets, and the person is like, yeah, but when I win, you'll see. It's like, all right, I'll wait. you know.
Which reminds me, I gotta buy my lottery tickets this week.
There you go. Well, you don't. Yeah, you don't win the things you don't buy, or whatever they say, the shots you don't take. So I do believe that, but percentages can be just as
Oh
Simmons.
my goodness. Well, there's other stuff happening around the league, but this happens to be the biggest story. What else around the associations has caught your eye this week?
Well, maybe we should do now a Wilbon style at the buzzer, going around the league. I'll give you a topic or team, and you tell me what's your hot take on them, and what do
All
you want
right,
to say?
you got the timer. You want me to run it?
I'm looking at just the top timer there, so we could say when it hits the 129 mark, we'll start as going 1 minute takes or something like that.
All right, sounds good.
All right, first one is Chicago Bulls. Go. The owner thing with the Michael Jordan and the ceremony and the booing.
Absolutely deserved. Absolutely deserved.
to his widow,
Absolutely deserved.
to a dead man's
I
widow,
just, huh?
to a dead man's widow.
Look, if you're gonna put it on a dog and pony show, You get what you deserve.
All right, that's a hot take, man. I respect that. I respect that. Um,
Like don't
anything else?
don't bring me to the rodeo and expect me to be the clown. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So you're saying the Jerry Krause booze? Okay. Thumbs up.
Yeah,
Good.
exactly what I'm saying.
All right, next. Okay, so that boom, there's the buzzer. If we had an editing thing, we could do it right on the minute there. So that'd be the 129.
Yeah.
All right, so we get an extra. I will say 1:30:30 for this next one because I got to think of the topic. Um, hmm, okay. Golden State. How badly
Ab-
does this end?
Absolute disappointment. A train wreck is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere good. Um, this all started when it was Draymond and Poole. They traded the wrong guy. Um, I'm not saying Jordan Poole's lighting it up in Washington, but he's younger and he can do more. He can do more than Draymond can. And I don't want to hear about Draymond being the glue that holds that team together because they're not together right now. They're 12th in the West. It's an absolute dumpster fire, and everybody needs to go.
It's
How's
true.
that?
It's good, and yeah, no, it is good. And don't forget though that Pool's also contributing a segment to ESPN every week with Shackton a Pool, so that's also pretty good. Uh, he's always got one.
I got one for you.
All right, hit it.
League MVP.
League MVP right now. I guess it's getting discussed between Joker and Embiid. Is there another one in contention? Giannis? Is he still being
Be
talked about?
honest, it's the same three it's always been.
Right, all big men too, which is all big foreigners, which is why I respect Draymond Green so much. Is he knows they're the biggest threat to him in American basketball, so he needs to be taking out 7 foot Europeans as a bit of a Terminator style. So MVP, I think Embiid is the quiet favorite right now because he's being quiet about it and he's being lethal. And I think that's a good way to get yourself an award is not say anything and just show up and do it. And it seems like he's doing it this year. Um, Whereas Jokic, I think, is more inclined to coast a bit because he's got a ring on. And Embiid just called him the best player in the world, and I respect that.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to come up with one for you here. Um, Cleveland Cavaliers. Does anybody care? Question mark. And with a tag on Donovan Mitchell, a Cav next year? Question mark.
Donovan Mitchell. No, I
Mm,
don't think so. And here's the thing. The Cavs are the best team that nobody cares about.
yeah.
The Cavs are forever that team that could be in the playoffs and they don't even know who they are. They're the most under the radar franchise in the NBA today. I mean, at least at least with the Clippers when they're number 4, we mock the Clippers or we praise OKC or we at least talk about Minnesota. Up until I was checking the standings earlier in the pod, bro, I couldn't even tell you where the Cavs were in the standings. Nobody cares about this team, and it's sad. I'll just leave it at that. It's sad. They're the best team in the league that nobody cares about.
And you don't see that changing anytime quick, hey?
No,
Fair.
and it's unfortunate.
Any more blockbuster trades before the deadline that you see coming?
Yes,
Who and where?
yes. Who and where? Oh, jeez.
You
I
can go any
wasn't
which way you
prepared
want.
for that. I wasn't prepared for the who and where.
That's the
But
at the buzzer way.
I will say this. I could see Clay Thompson going to the Philadelphia 76ers.
In exchange for anybody in particular, or just saying goodbye to Clay type of thing?
Saying goodbye to Clay, getting your draft picks, much like the Raptors did, and just reloading. Because Joel Embiid doesn't just want to be the MVP, he wants to be the world champion. And right now, Golden State is right for the picking. Everybody's giving up on Clay, yourself included.
What about
And
what
if
about
all Clay has to do is stand in the corner and bomb threes for Joel Embiid, and even if he misses, Joel's going to get the rebound. I think I think Clay's on his way to Philly.
That's a good hot take. I like it. I think it's a great fit too, team wise. But I tell you what, man, if he came out cold and started chunking, and Philly's not a
But
kind city. Philly's not
it's
where you
low
want to
risk,
end your
high
career.
reward. It's low
Exactly. So,
risk, high reward.
oh man, that would be such a roll of the dice for him because to end your career in booze would be heartbreaking. I don't wish that on anybody. Um, but maybe that's the risk he takes because you could be relevant and win another championship as a key role player with the Sixers. So yeah, I love it. I'd like to see that happen. On that, Steph Curry, do you see him going
He's
somewhere
the
like
one guy.
Dame?
he- He's the one guy who's gonna stay.
And now I
He's
got
the
like, is
you
that
know.
because
Here's what's gonna happen with Steph. Steph
why
is gonna
wouldn't he
be the
want to be
one guy that
competitive?
he wants to be competitive, but it's the old see. Dame doesn't have his ring, so Dame had a reason to go. Steph's got his 4 rings. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He's got a ton of money. He lives in California. He's got a comfortable life. He's got a beautiful wife. His kid is adorable. He's got no reason to leave the Bay Area. He's a legend there. He'll have a statue. He's
Hmm.
gonna be the one guy that stays because he's San Francisco through and through.
What if Miami called?
No, he doesn't fit with Jimmy.
Doesn't he though?
No, he doesn't because here, you think Philly's ruthless? You wait
Yeah,
until he goes 1 for 7. You wait till he goes 1 for 7, and Jimmy's going. What did we bring you in for if you're gonna shoot 1 for 7? You think
nobody
Philly's
would do that
ruthless?
to
You ever see Jimmy get mad?
nobody would get on Steph like that. I tell you what, there's probably three
Oh,
people.
I beg to differ. I don't think Jimmy Butler I don't think Jimmy Butler pays attention to the back of your jersey. I don't think he cares what your last name is.
Fair enough, fair enough. But Curry, you almost don't need a last name. He's got a face worth more than more than Jimmy's earnings from here until the end of time.
It's not about Jimmy's earnings. It's about Jimmy wanting the ring. And if you're gonna bring in Steph, you're gonna expect the old Steph Curry. You're not gonna expect this broken down Steph Curry.
I don't know where the broken down's coming from because he's shooting as efficiently and quickly and
You
as high
you you,
numbers as almost ever.
you think Jimmy's gonna tolerate Steph shooting poorly? I don't.
But Steph's not shooting poorly.
I'm just saying it can turn real quick.
True. I just, yeah, I don't see Steph on a team of rebuild. Like it would just be, might as well retire,
I
right?
don't. No. You asked me if I saw him playing in Miami. I just
Yeah.
think that he doesn't fit the culture of Miami.
Mm. I just see Hero going to Golden State and then Adebayo.
That's worse than the Raptors management.
Yeah. Well, I
You're
if I
trading Steph Curry, and the first person you come back with is Tyler Hero.
I would ask for Hero and that other rookie guy, Haskins. Um, and then at least you're getting pieces, you know.
I
And
don't see it.
Miami, if you wanted to win a championship and you told me, all right, who are you going to bet on for us to win a championship in the next 2 years, Hero or Steph Curry, it's a Curry, right? Without even hesitation. Uh, Anyways, that's a pretty abstract, random one, and that was longer than the buzzer. But I was curious because that's the one player people are saying is the untradeable. And I'm like, but why would he be the last piece standing on a shit team? Like that's pretty unfair to a guy that
Because
loves to compete.
he's a San Francisco god. That's why.
But he's always going to be that whether he goes to blank for 2 years and becomes six champions.
It's not the same.
Like what if he had six rings? Like he could go get two more anywhere else almost, you know?
It's okay. I'm gonna
Six
use KD as
rings.
an I'm gonna use KD as an example.
Yeah.
Okay, when KD went to Golden State and he got his 2 rings, he was already the best player in the world. We can acknowledge that, right? The only thing that changed his legacy is the fact that he's a 2-time champion. Durant is without a home still to this day.
Yeah.
And I think Steph's legacy in Golden State means far too much to him. And he's already got his rings, he's got his family, he's living in California.
Bob
It,
Myers
life,
left.
like Bob Myers has no attachment to the team.
He's still involved, you know. He's
Bill Belichick left the Patriots. That doesn't mean nothing.
he I think on both cases they were asked to leave actually. And they came to a mutual agreement, but
Yeah, the old mutual agreement. That'd be like if this podcast ends and I just came on here and said, "Oh, me and G came to a mutual agreement that we wouldn't do the podcast anymore."
yeah, it's like we
How
all
many
know how.
people you think? How
Yeah,
many
we all,
think? If I came on here and I said, "Look, this is the Mo Money Sports Network," and me and G mutually decided that we're not going to do the podcast. If it's my network, that means I made the decision that we're not going to do the podcast. It's stupid.
yeah,
The whole mutual decision thing is stupid.
yeah, especially when it's clear the person wasn't planning on leaving on their own, right? Like if it was clear they're like Steve Kerr, if he leaves after this year, it would be like, oh, he probably just decided enough was enough. He's gonna chillax. He doesn't want to
Now,
coach anymore.
if I come on here and say, look, the At the Buzzer podcast was fun, but G got a better opportunity elsewhere,
He's
and and we just decided that it was a better opportunity for him. If I gave an explanation, then people would understand. But people aren't going to understand if I just go, "Oh, we mutually decided that we're not going to do this." It's my network.
yeah. Robert Kraft gave him the kiss of death there too. Hey, Belichick.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
I like
he's
that. He's got a cold, so I'm not going to kiss him.
yeah.
That was the most hilarious thing ever. I'm not going to kiss him because he's got a cold.
Yeah, it's like you're not even gonna give the kiss of death. That's some cold ass shit, man.
Okay, that bringing up Steve Kerr gave me an idea for a question for you.
Okay.
Coach that's currently on the NBA hot seat.
Ooh. Ooh, that's an interesting one. I mean, hmm. There's not been a ton of rumbling, so this is actually a good question. Hmm, I'm blanking, man. I don't see anybody as being super vulnerable right now. Um, is there anybody really underperforming? The Phoenix, maybe Vogel,
See, that's why I asked the question. You know who I
maybe.
think it? You know who I think it is? I think it's the Cavaliers coach
Yeah, I could see it, but
because
again, it's like you're fixing something that isn't really the problem. It's the fact that you're the Cleveland Cavaliers that's the problem.
no, no, but my reasoning is a little bit different. Is they always end up in the same spot every year, so you're just treading water. They're always the 4 or the 5 seed. Like I said, they're the best team in the league that nobody cares about. Nobody talks about them, and I
They
just think
do
that
good
puts
with
your coach on the
Poodle.
hot seat when you just When you continuously end up in the same spot over and over and over again,
Just ask
I
Dwayne
think that
Casey.
puts you. I think, yeah, that's exactly what happened to Dwayne Casey. He'd
Hmm.
always get the Raptors to the second round.
Hmm.
He won Coach of the Year, but they're like you. We've done this 4 years in a row now, and you've lost every time. You have to go.
Hmm.
That's exactly what happened to Dwayne Casey.
Man, yeah. And boy, Luca's going to be saying the same thing to Cuban in a while. If they lose again, first or second round. Um, but yeah, okay. So you think Cleveland Cavaliers guy? That's interesting. I could see that. Just yeah, too many
And
times
and
the
it
same thing.
and it's only based on the fact that they year after year they end up in the same situation.
Yeah, because yeah, I don't think any coach is getting fired first year or anything. So it's not going to be Milwaukee or Toronto or any of the new coaches that have signed deals
Or
like Monty or
Houston.
Quinn Snyder. And I'd like to see Budenholzer maybe go Cleveland because he's a defensive minded coach and would work well with Allen and Mobley there. But
All
yeah,
right, I gave you mine last week. Best coach in the NBA
for right now or just in general?
right now.
Man, I'm still riding high on that Darko annihilation of Ben Taylor last week. I'm going with Darko. Um, Mostly
See,
because I'm the most familiar with him just through Toronto, and I've seen all of his press conferences, and the way he's held
yes,
himself being a new coach is actually really impressive to me. So I don't know if he's the best coach right now, but to me, holding a very strong attitude and communication when English isn't even your first language, and he's just so like he gives reporters the time of day, he gives his guys time of day. He's so focused, and it shows, man. He cares, he's focused, and he has all the ingredients of a head coach: emotion, but also cold logic, also competitive as hell. And he's got a group of young guys that believe in him. So, Darko, uh,
most
you?
surprising team in the NBA.
Oh, Minnesota, I think, right? Like, even though I still think it's a bit of fool's gold, the fact that they're hanging on to a number one seed through a significant chunk of the season, that's impressive. Maybe I should have said their head coach. What's his name again? I can see his face.
Yeah,
So, who's your coach and surprise?
my surprise this year is it's got to be the Golden State Warriors. I didn't expect them to be great, but I expected them to be much better than this. I thought they'd be in the 5-6 area of the whole thing,
Yeah.
and they just cratered. They just cratered. And they
Uh,
lost to Memphis. They lost to Memphis's bench.
Bench is putting it lightly. Like that was,
As far as my coach of the year, I told you this last week. I'm sticking by it. It's Spolstra. Spolstra
ooh,
just gets the most out of what he's got, and he doesn't have much. And the Heat would still have home court advantage, I
yeah,
think, if the playoffs were to start today. So
hmm.
Spo's my guy.
Man, I wish I could have changed mine now. I should have said the Clippers and Ty Lue. Um,
By the way, did you see the quote of Darvin Ham today?
no,
They showed a quote from Darvin Ham before the Lakers and Mavs game, and it said something to the effect of, "We're not worried about outside noise. We're just worried about how we can figure things out, and we're focusing on us." And I was
hmm,
like, Darvin, that's the stupidest thing you could say. I hate when teams say we're not worried about what anybody else thinks. We're just doing our thing, because that's the biggest lie ever.
man.
You're full of
What
crap.
He's actually made me laugh more than any NBA coach this year because he's got such an army dudes like hardcore. I'm not going to tell you any lies. He's like Darvin Ham, man. He's sergeant, but he's had to play the media game a little bit, right? So when they're asking him, you do feel nervous about getting fired or whatever when they're on that losing streak before Ben Taylor, um, he was like, he was giving some description of like a mafia thing, and he's like, no, I'm not the guy that gets shot. You know, it's just like such an intense example to use. And he's like, and that's
But
why I'm going to be fine. And
but
it's
like
like, all
Darv,
right,
like
all right.
I watch more Lakers than anybody, right?
Hmm.
Darvin's over his head.
That's what I mean. It looked like he was covering, like he was trying to put on such a tough guy act, and he looked like, oh man, even you
He,
seem
he
out of your element here.
he shouldn't be the coach of this team,
He
and
doesn't
that's
have
not
that. Yeah,
and that's not any disrespect to Darvin Ham. I think he could be a good coach elsewhere, but when you have in law, look, it takes a special guy to coach in L.A. It
Stan
takes
Van Gundy.
there are certain cities in the league where it takes a special guy, and that applies to small markets too, like the
Hmm.
Spurs. It takes a Popovich to coach the Spurs, but in Hollywood, you have to be able to manage egos because they're always going to be around. And Darvin Ham just seems like he's being bullied by his own roster, and that's bad.
Nobody ever likes seeing the tough dude cry or whatever, right, in the movie and stuff. And it's like, it almost was Darvin was like you know, he was just the most toughest dude, but like, yeah, seeing them on that losing streak and watching them come up with excuses and excuses, it was like you're
It's
watching.
like when you're watching. You ever see the coach when he's at the press conference, and they're like, "Hey, dude, so you're 10 games under 500. Are you worried about getting fired?" And the coach is so stupid. He goes, I still have the keys, and until I don't have the keys, I'm the head coach of this team."
And they're
And
like,
then 2 days
the guy
later, he
gets,
gets fired.
yeah. Honestly,
That
that was Darvin. That was him right before the Raptors game. They'd lost like 6 or 7 in a row or whatever it was, and he was like, I'm fine. This is just part of the game, you know." Da, da, da. And it was like, dude, you're gonna get fired if you lose another game. And then they did the Raptors thing, and they swung back. But he was ready to lose. I think 3 more losses, and he was in the hot seat. Um,
and then they come out and beat Dallas tonight, which is weird.
yeah, they're very unpredictable, to be honest. I don't know how that's gonna go, but as long as LeBron's going, obviously they have a chance. It's just,
Anyway,
yeah.
we got about 7 minutes left, so we may
Hmm.
as well put this one to bed. Any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Well, you know, I think it was Martin Luther King that said, um, you know, believe in yourself, believe in your own sense of dignity, your somebodyness, because you're of value. You have value. And if you're an NBA owner or manager, remember that your players have value. And when you let them go to the end and you don't do anything with them and you essentially throw away that value, um, hopefully you learned your lessons. I'm just reflecting on all the lessons we've learned.
And you know what? It's very fitting that you do that because Monday was Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, trust me.
So, you know, as we remember the great Dr. Martin Luther King, it's very fitting that you leave a piece of him in this podcast.
Yeah, and I don't
And
mean to be
I
joking
will,
around too much about it, but you know, those are excellent words to take in. Yeah, man.
yeah, those are excellent words to take in. And it just so happened that it happened to be on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
To the NBA fans that do tune into this podcast, because believe it or not, we do draw a little bit of numbers. But I'll just say this. Regardless of how anything turns out around the league, we're just two guys talking ball at the end of the day. Whether you agree with us or whether you disagree with us, whether we agree or disagree with each other,
Or whether we
we just love
disagree
just
with ourselves come tomorrow.
whether we disagree with ourselves sometimes. We just love the fact that we can entertain you with talking ball and giving you our opinions, and the fact that you take the time to listen, absolute bonus. So if you enjoy the podcast, like and subscribe. That's all I
Oh,
got.
and check out Mo's movie channel if you haven't yet. I recently subscribed, and I'm excited to check a little bit out there because I'm a big movie guy too. So,
Oh yeah, the next movie review is gonna be a bit late because I've had editing issues. By the way, so there might only be one video this week, but there will be back to the two movie schedule next week.
awesome! I saw you got
Cause,
Banshees up there too, so that'll be cool.
yeah, that's a good. If you get Paramount Plus, by the way, check that movie out. It's really good.
100%,
Um,
so good.
but yeah, it's just I tried to get it through two different editors this week. I sent my stuff to editors, and
Hmm.
I tried with two different people. Couldn't get that second one done. So next week we'll be back to the two movies schedule. This week we only get one because there was a whole bunch of stuff going on.
Hey, no doubt. Right on, man.
But
What's the movies
thank
you
you,
got coming
G,
up
and
next week?
huh?
What's the movies you got coming up next week? Movies,
Uh,
yeah.
well, we'll talk about it because I haven't made up my mind yet as to what we're gonna do next week.
Okay, awesome.
So you and I might talk about it when we officially sign off here.
Sounds good, buddy.
All right. Well, for G, I'm Mo Money. It's technically my sports network, but nobody makes any money. But until next time, may your ego come from a place that keeps you humble. You know how this goes. I'm Mo Money. Mamba out.
Let it rain.